brothers and sisters and misses and misters, here's your daddy-o with the sounds to go. No shucking, no jive, and I'm telling you, your music's arriving.
Hey, I'm Largo. This is the lounge. That's Eduardo crowing, if you heard him. And welcome to the Infinite Playlist with my buddy, Will. Hey, Will.
Yeah, I'm just joining the Largo. That wasn't Eduardo, it was me. It's a horrible rooster I do. But how's it going, Jim? Good to see you.
Good. Yeah, everything I learned about crowing came from Peter Pan and then Eduardo. But either way. No, it's been a busy, productive week working on some new projects, trying to get some stuff off the ground, tinkering, a lot of tinkering. I'm not tech savvy, so it takes me twice as long. But we have a pretty cool playlist tonight. Another one of our friends from the interwebs has brought a playlist for us, and I think we should introduce him. What do you think?
I think we shall do it.
All right. Hey, GeForce Racing 20, aka Mark. What's funny is I put out the call for playlists, and a couple of shows in the comments, you're like, yeah, man, I'm ready. Let's do this. And I'm like, okay, well, send me a playlist. I look at my email, and you sent it under your real name, not under GeForce 20. So I didn't connect the two. And I'm like, he said he sent me a playlist, man. And then I figured it out. I'm like, oh, yeah. Okay. So
yeah, well, I actually had the pleasure of meeting GeForce at Joe Fest. That was awesome. That was great running into you there.
Yes, that was a great time.
Yeah. I wish I'd been able to go, but heard you guys had a good time. A lot of cool swag to be had there.
Will had his MASH play set. I was like, oh, look at that.
Yeah, I was running with it.
Speaking of swag, you have chosen as your moniker and your icon Mark from the Battle of the Planet / Gatchaman. And I wanted you to show off that sweet new piece here. Let me blow you up real big. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So this is the Storm Collectibles new Mark, or G1 from Gatchaman. What do you think of it?
I think he's fantastic. Well worth the wait. I think it was 18 months from pre-order to getting it at the house. But he's got regular Storm Collectible articulation, rubber overlay on the chest and the crotch area. But he comes with 3 different cape styles. So there's a big, wide, spread out one, and one that just drapes over his shoulders. This one always was the action shot that I remember from the cartoon as a kid. So Comes with a couple different boomerangs. He's got one that's open and one that's closed that fits in his little holster there.
Cool. Yeah, that was his signature weapon from the Science Ninja Force. You know, as a little kid, I watched.
Jim was gonna say that. Oh, you both froze. So maybe I'm the freeze. Oh, maybe I froze.
I'm here.
No. Oh, you're there. Okay. I was gonna say Jim was gonna say. Just Will's great, and you should go subscribe to his channel. No, I'm kidding. I think he froze up. I could always cut this out later. We'll wait for him to get back.
Yeah, he said he had
which is great. Yeah. It's easy. Usually, what we'll do is just kind of do some kind of deliberate break, and just start it over, or. But yeah.
So you were on Stu's today. You had a good time.
Oh yeah. Stu's just a terrific guy. He reached out to me. He's got a very long waiting list for his show, and I think he reached out to me in May before I even went to Joe Fest, and he said, "If you'd like to appear on the show, it's going to be like in September." And of course, I just said yes, and
forgot.
But then every time he would post a new video, I was like, "Did I forget?" I wasn't sure if it was a live stream or something else. But anyway, just a terrific guy. Talking to him about toys, he's such a good interviewer. It's a fun show.
That's fun.
Hey, Jim, welcome back.
Thank you. The internet gremlins are at it again. Apologies.
No worries.
But I really enjoyed the Battle of the Planets, and then Gotchamon once I got to see the original version. So it's just cool. I saw that
let's
we
move
have a
you back
interest.
over so we match when you come back after the cut.
Come back and cut.
Fair enough. All right. We'll put some links in the description below with your playlist along with your channel. And if you have any particular shows of interest, like your GeForce review you did, we can plug that there as well.
Okay.
So that will do.
Cool.
Where do you want to pick up from where we were? Because I don't know how much I missed.
We were talking about Gotcha Man, so do you want to just
I think you end it with, you said, when I was a kid.
And then
and then you froze. So if you want to start from there, I'll just stare. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, when I was a kid, I watched the Americanized version, the Battle of the Planets. Really enjoyed that until I learned that there was a real version, the Science Ninja Team Gotchamon, which was a way better show because it didn't have all the silly cuts or the Casey Kasem robot goofiness. So it was fun stuff. But
Seven's Dark Seven's awesome.
The mileage may vary. I'll leave it at that. Anyway, GeForce Racing 20's link is in the description below, along with this playlist, along with his recent review of that Storm Collectibles Mark G1. So check it out.
Yeah.
In the meantime, Will, you got anything you want to jump on before we jump in the playlist?
Well, there is just this memo I've got laying around here, and that is Largo's Lounge and the Infinite Playlist is broadcasting Largo. That is our very special, sophisticated method in which you can listen to the music we're talking about while we're talking about it. All it requires is that you open YouTube in another browser, click on the playlist that Jim has painstakingly prepared for you, turn the volume down just enough so you could hear us talking. And you may have to click through the videos a little bit because the timing's not going to line up. Largo is a developing technology, and we haven't quite gotten there yet. But it really does enhance the show. Listening to the music we're speaking about while we're speaking about it, especially if you're sitting at a computer with headphones on, is a really great enhancement to your listening pleasure.
That is true. Unfortunately, Largo is made with Guatemalan AI, so that means it gets around to it whenever it feels like it. Might take a siesta. You just never know.
Yeah.
So let's see what we got in this dossier.
Is that something new that you guys have introduced?
Well, because Jim has the playlist, I tried it on one of the streams when we were broadcasting, and it really did work. It helped.
Cool.
I think it was the Gojitron one. I was listening to the show tunes while we were talking about them, and I was like, "This is so much better."
Right. Copyright infringement and fair use are gray areas sometimes, and the waters get muddied. So to avoid any imperial complications, entanglements. Yes, thank you. Yeah, and no Bothans died to bring you this information. We're looking for different ways to do the show, and we found that, you know, basically having the playlist separate allows you to open up a separate screen if you're on your PC. Might work on TV too, I don't know. But kind of enhances the experience without us having to deal with the copyright trolls.
Issues.
So,
yep.
Yeah,
cool.
It is what it is. If there's a better way around it, we may eventually look at it. But at the moment, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So, what do we got in the playlist here, Will? Good stuff.
Starting off, like I said, you know, I said this off screen, but I'll say it now. Listen, me and G-Force in a car, we're going on a road trip. He pops in his playlist. I don't even look over at him one time going like, you listen to this? Because it's all good stuff. I'm just driving, man. It's just good tunes. Listening to them. Me and this guy, we click.
Very cool.
Very nice.
Any overall words on your thoughts on putting this playlist together, or was it just kind of what happened to be what you were listening to this week, or what?
No, these are pretty much all oldies from probably the college days mostly, but I mean, you got the classic rock in there as well. But I have a philosophy that there are two genres of music. There's music I like and music I don't. And
That's fair.
I like the classification of music necessarily. Like, oh, well, this is Norwegian death black church metal. This isn't metal. Like, go pound salt. Come on.
Exactly.
Just stop with the oversaturation of classification.
You like it or you don't. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. People like to create a cubby hole or a category to put stuff in. It's like sometimes music's
or
just
whatever,
music.
you know?
Exactly.
Gothers can't hang out with punks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Come on, guys. It's music.
Exactly. Well, here's a classic I think we can all agree is awesome. Black Dog by Led Zeppelin.
Hell yeah,
great stuff.
Man. Hey, I got my first Walkman. I had two cassettes. One was Deep Purple. The other one was Led Zeppelin 2. I don't know if the song's on it, but I think it is. And but yeah, that was it. That's all I had. And I stole them from my brother. So I'm just saying, like for a whole summer, this is all I listened to.
This is the acquired Led Zeppelin song that I ever heard. I used to go up to Canada and stay with my aunt and my cousins, and they were all kind of Def Leppard, Led Zeppelin, Van Halen, that type of metal or hard rock, if you will. And they put this on. I was like, my ears perked up. I was like, what is this? Before I heard Stairway, everything. This was the first Led Zeppelin song I ever heard.
Zeppelin is awesome, but I gotta say, I really got more into Robert Plant's solo work later on, and even some of the collaborations he did, like when he did that whole album with Alison Krauss. Beautiful stuff. Really enjoyed it. It doesn't take anything away from his early days, but it's worth checking out some of his solo projects as well. Really cool stuff. This I didn't know until I started snooping around for this playlist. The title, Black Dog, is a reference to a nameless black Labrador retriever that was wandering around Headley Grange Studios while they were recording the album. There you go. So if you didn't know, now you know.
That's more
yeah.
than I knew. I had heard stories about it being about a black dog that they came across, but I didn't know it was in the studio.
Yeah, at least hanging around outside looking for scraps, probably. But one thing that was interesting with this particular song is the call and response that goes on, and I like that. It kind of calls back to some early jazz and blues kind of stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. And I really enjoy Led Zeppelin because of the more bluesy side of their nature.
Oh, definitely. It's it's such high energy. It's like that bluesy kind of thing, but the way Robert Plant's just just wailing and they're just so listen.
And they can just pop into the psychedelic if they want, like
Led Zeppelin's
the
just like
song remains
go
the
music for
same.
me. Yeah, it's high energy. It's go. Even though they took that and made it something that is kind of unique to them. They put their own sound on it, which is cool.
One of my top bands of all time has to be them and Pink Floyd.
Definitely. It's like the first real band like I ever like said I was a fan of. Like
this is
sure in the
rock and
80s.
roll to me.
Yeah, in the 80s, everyone was like, knew who Michael Jackson was, but like this is the first band where I was like, I like Led Zeppelin. I remember like my friend's older brother going, "What's in your Walkman?" And I showed him Led Zeppelin. He's like, "Right on," like it was cool.
Very cool. Sorry, guys, I'm having gremlin issues today, so if I pop in and out, we'll just have to roll with it. So,
no problem.
Will, you have the con. Pink Floyd, another classic from back in the day. Fearless, I wasn't particularly familiar with, but kind of an interesting little Easter egg in there too. The "You'll Never Walk Alone" that you hear in the background has become kind of a football chant in. I can't remember which football club. Yes,
it's Liverpool. Yep.
And so that was kind of a little fun bit that's in the song in the background. But
this was one of those songs that I kind of forgot about because as you kind of grow older and you listen, most of the accessibility to the songs is just the hits and whatnot. So when I saw this on the playlist, I listened to it. I do have memories of hearing this, but it's been a long time. And I'm just going to say this right now, G-Force, I think you picked a lot of the kind of B-sides or the just offset from center kind of songs from these bands, which I really appreciated. I like that because they're wonderful, but they're not the ones that you always see being chosen or presented. Was that intentional?
And that was definitely intentional. Most of the stuff is pretty mainstream as far as the bands go. Like everybody knows them. But I wanted to explore something that wasn't played on the radio to death. Wish You Were Here, everybody knows that. The Wall, everybody knows that. So I wanted to go with something a little different. And this song in particular, Fearlessly, the Idiot Faced the Crowd.
Yep.
And it's just such powerful lyrics, and Gilmore's guitar is phenomenal on every song. I love Pink Floyd to death.
And funny enough, it was Led Zeppelin that led me to Pink Floyd. So just like your list, it was my friend's brother was like, if you want to hear something, you like Led Zeppelin, you're gonna love Pink Floyd, which they are not the same. So it was different, because he's like, oh, naturally you'd like this. So I was expecting a Led Zeppelin type. I'm listening to this and it's not Led Zeppelin, but it's something different and it's unique and it's new. So it was an exploration. I really enjoyed, doing that.
For sure.
I'm guilty like a lot of guys. It's like I know Dark Side of the Moon, I know The Wall, but there's a lot of their other stuff like these B-sides probably have heard but don't really remember. So I appreciate, like Will was saying, it's nice to be reminded that there's a lot of other good stuff out there to check out.
You forget about them.
Mhm.
Yep.
Pantera, Hollow, dark song, really, oof. I mean, it's an experience when you delve into the lyrics, but really well done.
Now, this is a song that has a lot more significant meaning to me because at the time Vulgar Display of Power came out, I was in college and had a really close friend get very sick and ended up where his lungs collapsed and he was on all these machines. And I had this in my head as I was visiting him when he was passing. And it just rings true to me every time I hear it. I just know exactly where I was with that song in my head. And
isn't that amazing? Yeah. And, you know.
And so this one is always like my go-to Pantera song. If I want to tell somebody like, yeah, this is the one that gets me the most.
Yeah, it's somber. The lyrics are a reflection of a friend who slipped into a comatose or vegetative state. You know, kind of looking at it as the friend looking in, going, "Can you hear me? Do you know what's going on?" It's really dark.
Yeah,
you know, they said it wasn't really written about any particular person. It was just kind of an idea, and oof, it's well done. But not on my shiny happy list.
Are real clean. Dimebag always does a great job on the guitar. Vinny on drums is always solid. Rex on bass is really solid. Like Pantera as a band as a whole, for a metal band, is one of my favorites. They're always been nice and clean. Unfortunately, they've lost 2 of their members, so they're no longer.
Yeah.
They are playing.
Pantera, and particularly this album, always a solid choice. Could always, great,
good stuff. This is a band I was not aware of, but very alternative, but still very metal. Lots of dark subject matter. I would almost, matter of fact, they call it a concept album. The entire album deals with a particular slice of life, looking at the life of a troubled teen, going through thoughts of, you know, self-deletion and abuse and alcoholism, abandonment. Definitely, if you're in a dark place, I would recommend not listening to this because it'll put you in a darker spot. But if you're looking for something that you can identify with, if you've been in those dark places, Life of Agony, oof. River Runs Red is the album. My Eyes, particularly, it's very well done, but very dark subject matter. What drew you to Life of Agony?
It was early 90s, 92, 93, 94, somewhere in there. And I came home from college one weekend and one of my best friends had this album and he exposed me to it. And I just fell in love with the sound of the guy's voice. It's just a deeper tone and it had a different quality about it. It wasn't straight metal. He's kind of crooning in a way, the way he sings.
Sure.
But it just drew me right in. And then I just, of my time being around that album when I was home with my friends, you know, I just like, oh, I got to get this. And it didn't leave my CD player for years.
Wow.
Upon seeing it on your list, I was like, I'm not familiar with this band. As soon as I heard his voice, I was like, I've heard this many, many times. And, you know, so I was
and
like,
this song being more of a B-side, everybody was asking for River Runs Red or My Time or Through and Through, but nobody ever asked for My Eyes. And this is one of my favorite songs on the album. So that's why I chose this one.
Fair enough. So a new band for me to explore, preferably on a day when I'm ready to handle it. It's a little bit heavy.
Yeah.
But for some funner
Wow.
fare, Beastie Boys are always a good time. Paul Revere. It's one of those, I know a lot of Beastie Boys songs, but never really delved deeper. I didn't realize this was like their origin, like their comic book secret origin, how they came together. Totally fictitious, but fun.
Totally, but fun. And this
Like
one you
a
don't need Largo
Western.
for, because as soon as the slide came up, I started hearing the word, the beat and the lyrics in my head. It's all playing right now because this is one of those ones you can't get out of your head. I was
Yeah.
telling G-Force, I think I was in 8th grade when this came out, or when it was discovered, and there was kids singing this in class and getting in trouble, or more like Fight for Your Right to Party in class and getting in trouble, and people listening to it, and
Yep.
just a good time.
Yep. So this tells the fictional story of how Ad Rock, Mike B, and MCA first met. Of course, this is from Ad Rock's point of view, riding through the desert on a horse named Paul Revere, and he's on the run from the police. So hijinks
with a
ensue.
quart of beer. I mean, he's got a quart
With a quart
of
of
beer. Yes.
It's
So,
a
fun
great
stuff.
story. I am a sucker for storytelling in music. Johnny Cash, give me all day. I love people telling stories. Charlie Daniels, like even the country music people seem to be a little more in tune with storytelling, and like just reminds me of sitting around a campfire with the family or something, and somebody's telling a story, and you're like, what?
Yeah.
Very
While 8th grade me thought some portions of the song were more funny than I do now, but it's immature. But it's funny, and overall, it's a great song.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Beastie Boys are not known for taking themselves too seriously, so they're just having fun.
Yeah.
I think as 7th, 8th graders, when this album came out, we were the perfect audience for that kind of humor, though. Like it's just that Beavis and Butthead kind of like, let's just have fun.
Yep. Very cool. And then, another well-known piece, not really in my ballpark. I didn't really understand the California, the LA scene. Gangsta rap was not my thing, but everybody knew this song, Straight Outta Compton. Even if you've never been anywhere near Compton, the violence,
we couldn't have been farther from Compton, but this was playing all the time with me and my friends.
Yeah.
Oh, we loved it. We ate this up.
Yeah, being East Coasters, right?
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, there were some serious issues that they were addressing, and they were doing it in a very confrontational way, especially with law enforcement. They were very unhappy with what was going on. But this thing got some crazy radio play, and it actually became the first platinum certified gangsta rap song with 1 million copies and counting. So people had to pay attention, and then all of a sudden there's a whole bunch of different gangster rap coming out. So definitely
if you
paved the
look
way.
back on it too, you have Dre, you have Ice Cube, you have Eazy-E. Yellow was in there. Like, they were some bangers as far as the rap game was concerned of who's who. They all broke off into separate careers. They were tight. They did a good job. I don't know. I like a little bit of. I went through a phase, probably 10th grade through maybe senior year, where I was all rap and going out to dance clubs and stuff like that. So this is where more of my rap side came into play. Like I like all R&B and the dance stuff too. But once I first started hearing like Two Live Crew and these guys, after the Beastie Boys and Run DMC and Fat Boys and stuff like that, like we gradually, where I lived anyway, got exposed to rap music in the sticks of, and this one just was a banger. I listened to it on my headphones on my Walkman when I was going to sporting events and stuff like that. It was just psych up music.
Yeah. And like you say, a lot of heavy hitters that went on to have great careers started out with NWA.
Yep.
So,
it was great when I pulled
cool.
into the parking lot of work listening to this. I was blaring it through my car stereo. And I was like, all right, let me turn that down. I'm pulling
I'm
into
guessing you
work.
got a couple of
People
head turners
standing
like,
around.
is that the boss?
Yeah, I'm in my car and I'm just like, just totally into it. And then I pull it. I'm like,
Yeah.
Who left this in here? Yeah, it's awesome. I don't care.
This is more in my lane. The Velvet Underground, very trippy, skippy. Venus in Furs was written by Lou Reed, who was a very interesting person, to say the least. He was part of that scene where things were very experimental. People were trying all kinds of different things in audio, visual, every form of art. And sometimes they would all mesh together. Venus in Furs as actually referring to a book which covers some very adult themes, shall we say. And also something that people were experimenting with at this time in the late 60s, early 70s. So I'll just leave it at that.
Yes.
One cool thing about this band. Yeah. Let's just say morals were a little looser at the moment when this was a big thing. But Velvet Underground hooked up with Nico and also hooked up with Andy Warhol. Anybody who's familiar with the pop art of Andy Warhol probably has heard the sound of Velvet Underground. They were thick as thieves at a time. Greenwich Village was a very interesting place. It was the happening scene. And a friend brought Andy to a party at this grungy little coffee house thing. And he saw Velvet Underground and said, we should hang out, man. And they did for a while.
That's exactly how he said it too. We should hang out.
Probably.
And Lou's eating it up.
Oh man. So if you are not familiar with this particular rabbit hole of pop culture, I highly recommend take a little time and delve into it. It's fun. Things were different. I'll just say that. The Exploding Plastic Inevitable tour with Andy Warhol featured the Velvet Underground, and they went around the horn, man. They were checking everything out, and nothing was off the table. And it was a fun party while it lasted. So
So I would say, especially this album from Velvet Underground, if you're unfamiliar with them, this album is probably the one to get you listening to them. But yes, Jim, you're 100% correct. It was just debauchery everywhere. It was just a wild scene. And they made some cool music. And this was actually in the Doors movie. The one that Val Kilmer played Jim Morrison. And that's probably the first time I heard this song. But a buddy in college was just super into this whole scene. So he really exposed me to him. And I got into the poetry because Lou Reed isn't a singer, he's a poet, like Morrison was.
Okay.
And Leonard Cohen and guys like that. They were more writers than they were singers, but because their words had so much impact on so many people, they're like, you got to sing these.
Yeah. And, culture and debauchery aside, the music is really good. And it was a piece from a very particular time. So if you want a snapshot of what was going on in the world, checking out these guys, checking out some of the early Bowie from this time, the Doors, as you said. Wow. Yeah, just trippy skippy.
Pop, there's tons of people out there that were just in this scene, and it was a wild party.
That is true. So, moving on, before I get myself in trouble, Alan Parsons
Yes.
Project, some good wholesome fun, all about gambling. Hey, what could be wrong with that? Games people play from the turn of a friendly card. Everything on this album was all about gambling because these guys were in Monte Carlo when they were writing this stuff. So it's like the casinos are right next door. So they were heavily inspired. Probably lost some money, but at least got inspired. So good stuff. I like all the Alan Parsons Project stuff. It's just a good sound.
So Alan Parsons Project for me is, I love the sound of the music. Like it's very upbeat. It's very almost disco-y era when they were around, you know. So there's a lot of electronics and synths and moogs and weird sounds that you hear with Alan Parsons Project. But then the lyrics are dark. It's like a juxtaposition of like happy music and like
It's like easy listening. Yeah, you could just kind of pop along to the
he's
Alan
dropping
Parsons
some knowledge, you know.
Yeah.
And it's a fun time. I like so many Alan Parsons Project songs. They actually did the intro song for the Chicago Bulls. That's Sirius.
Cool. Yeah.
In the Star series. But yeah, that was the intro song for the Chicago Bulls, was Alan Parsons Project.
Nice.
And as far as the juxtaposition between the sound and the lyrics, games people play is definitely a good example because the song itself is really about how people get over. You know, it's like, how am I going to manipulate somebody else to get what I want? Realizing they're not where they want to be. It's like, I'm not getting any younger. You know, time keeps on ticking. Wait, that's a different song. But anyway, yeah. So it's fun to dive a little deeper, look at the lyrics, see where they were coming from. But if you're not into that, just listening to the song, letting it wash over is cool too.
Yeah, you can just enjoy it without, like, how do you explain that, Jim? If you're not diving deep into it, you're just kind of casually listening. Is that the way to explain?
It's kind of got two layers to it. It's got the easy layer, and then there is a deeper layer should you choose to.
It's kind of like when
absorb what he's saying.
Like Han told Chewie in Jedi, it's like just fly casually. You know, just fly casually.
Right.
It's cool. Were you a big Alan Parsons guy growing up, Will? When were you exposed to that?
No. As a matter of fact, this is one of the albums on the list that I just got exposed to, but I really liked it, man. The video is great. He's just like in the sound booth, just singing along. It was just fantastic.
And his Casio watch on.
Yeah, I loved it. I sat there and I just listened to the whole thing, and I was like, wow. So no, I did. This is one of like the new introductions. If there is one on this list, it was this one.
Yeah,
my uncle actually got me into this. My mother's youngest brother. He was like a traveler photographer type of thing in the late 70s, and he had like a hi-fi at my grandmother's, and so we'd go over there all the time on Sunday for dinner, and he'd just like, here, listen to this. And he slapped those big 70s cans on my head and put an Alan Parsons Project.
Nice.
Good stuff. Yeah, and it's one of those things, you start listening, you'll hear a lot of songs you've heard before. They got a lot of radio play. Maybe you didn't know who it was, but you'll know the sound. So definitely Alan Parsons Project. Link in the description below. Check it out. And check out all their stuff. Their whole back catalog is fun.
Yeah. The best of Alan Parsons Project is a great place to start.
Yeah. A lot of those greatest hits compilations are a good sampler. But don't forget the B-sides and the stuff that we tend to overlook.
Go back and get the albums after you like them.
There you go. Nirvana, definitely a very particular scene. Another one where there's a lot of good stuff going on as far as musical combinations, things coming together. but a darker undertone. I mean, I'm sensing a theme here, Mark. I don't know. Kurt Cobain was well known for being unhappy with a lot of things in his life, and it came out in what he wrote. And School was a very good example of that. He was talking about some of the bullies he dealt with when he was a kid. And he even was quoted, and I will badly misquote him here, but basically later in his career saying he looked out in the crowd at a concert, and it's like, I see the faces of people nodding to my music, and it's the same kind of guys that were beating me up in high school. It's like he was not a happy camper with some members of his audience. I'll just say that.
No. And he wasn't one that was afraid to voice his opinion about things like that either in interviews or what have you, you know. He was on record as not wanting to be famous, you know, but he had this band that was just hitting everybody's right chords as we were transitioning from like hair metal to grunge in the rock and roll scene anyway. So like he just hit at the right time and became mega famous, and that wasn't what he wanted.
Yeah. Kurt Cobain is a very interesting person, and you can't listen to his music without, you know, catching a little bit of what was going on in his head, because it's right there for you to check out.
And GeForce, this is another great track that you pulled out that is just off of center that most people don't talk about. So I appreciate it, and I really enjoyed listening to it again. So,
and Bleach, this album was much heavier than it Smells Like Teen Spirit album.
Nevermind. Yeah.
But I enjoyed that because I was into bands like Pantera, Metallica, and the heavier side of rock as well. You know, I enjoyed this album for that value because it is just that much more in your face. It wasn't as radio friendly, if you will. But School, that the chorus where he's just like, no recess, you know, it just strikes a chord where you were in trouble or whatever, you know, somebody was messing with you.
Yeah, on some level you can relate to a lot of Nirvana music. So
yeah,
very cool.
I was
and
1 month away.
A band.
I was 1 month away from seeing Nirvana at Lollapalooza, and before he killed himself.
Oh wow!
Oh man, bummer.
Never had the opportunity myself. Yeah,
but I did get to see the Beastie Boys.
Cool.
Nice.
Hum is a band that was not on my radar either. I don't think I'd ever heard of them. Interesting. Definitely just alternative. I mean, they don't really fit any particular pigeonhole. They are what they are. I Hate It Too is this particular track off the album You'd Prefer an Astronaut. And you just got to hear it. I mean, there's not really words for it.
Yes. This to me, I was exposed to Hum in college. I was a DJ in college for the radio station, and I only did a few shows, but funny enough that you mentioned it earlier, Jim, the name of my show was The Exploding Plastic Inevitable.
Very nice.
And my radio name was Noodles, because that's what people called me, because I was skinny and wiry, and so they called me Noodles.
Cool.
Which that probably shouldn't have been said, but
yeah,
anyway.
G-Force is a step up.
yeah, I've matured.
They called them Noodles for another reason, but we can't talk about
it. But this song in particular, I feel is like the perfect crescendo of how a rock song should progress, or an alternative song even. It starts out very low and slow, and then it just builds and builds until it just crescendos down into a nice fade out.
It sounds like the time it was made. It sounds like a 90s, right? Or
Yes.
like early 90s song. Like it just reminds me of that time,
Perfect
even though I never heard it.
Yeah, the perfect formulatic or experiment, you know.
Hmm.
Yeah,
But it's a
they
good
don't have a
tune,
lot
too.
of stuff out, but the few they do are
No.
interesting, so worth checking out.
Stars is probably their most popular. That had a lot of radio play. And then Why I Like Robins is another one on this album. Really good tune. But yeah, they're more of a one-hit wonder type of thing, but they got a few good tunes on their album.
Very cool. Well, gentlemen, that takes us to the end of our
Yeah.
playlist for today.
Cool.
Again,
Hell of a
most
hell
of
of a
these are,
listen.
yeah, yeah.
Hope
A lot of
you
these
enjoy
are
it.
good B-sides and classic bands we love. A couple of surprises. Always enjoy that. And
And what I like
yeah,
about your playlist so far, and I've been watching a lot of them, is that you just get exposed to different stuff, you know? So
That's right.
let's share some music and show some people some cool stuff. Maybe you like it, maybe you don't, but it's fun.
yeah. So another great show, guys. I appreciate it. I'm always having fun when we do the playlist, and I like it when I learn something or I'm reminded of something I enjoy. As we've said before, the call is out. If you got a playlist for us, check in with us either through Instagram or my email's connected with the YouTube, so you can check in my what do you call it? My homepage thingy with the thingy. You'll find my email there. You can send me an email or hit me up on Instagram or smoke signal or send a carrier pigeon. It all works.
Well, even more interesting, I think, is going to be, well, once again, yes, I want to see more people, more playlists, but I think going back and doing a round two, because we bring it up almost on every show, is interesting as well. Because, these are the things you laid out the first time. Let's get a little deeper next time and see what else you got, brewing in there.
Okay.
So I think love to have you back on and,
Yeah,
for sure. You can call this.
yeah, we will
Side
definitely
B.
do a.
We could call it Side B. Yeah.
So we will see G-Force in the Infinite playlist again. You're more than welcome. Our founding father of Infinite playlist, the Black Knight, will be returning soon, along with his cohort Ted Dirtclaw. To be announced as far as date, but they have committed to coming together and doing some fun stuff. Jeremy Jernigan's talking about coming back. He might bring his buddy Chad, or he might bring Ryan. We'll see. It's all loosey-goosey. So we'll definitely have some favorites back, and we're still looking forward to new playlists from other folks in the interwebs that we hang out with. So thanks again, Mark, for sharing with us. Yes, and there is links in the where is it, Will?
In the description below.
Yes. Yes. So tasty bits in the description below. So not only for G-Force in this playlist, but who knows what else will be there. But you'll find it.
There may be a coupon for a free drink at Panera. I'm not promising anything, but there may be.
Yeah, never. All right, guys. Speaking of tasty beverages and such, I'm going to go find one because, it's been one of those days. Enjoy. Will, any final words of wisdom before we wander off?
Nope. Just thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.
Mark?
Yeah, just expose yourself to music. Not in that way, you
And on that note,
have a good night.